Hey guys, today in this video I'm going to be talking about dissatisfaction and satisfaction slash appreciation, and I'm going to talk about how all of that relates to change and balance. So when you're satisfied, you like the state of things, you like the balance. Same goes for appreciation. When you're dissatisfied, you do not like the balance, you do not like the state of things, and you try to change it. So usually the people trying to create the change are dissatisfied, and the people trying to maintain the state of things, the balance, are the people who are satisfied, who are appreciative of what they have. So yeah. Now, of course, both balance and change, they're both good sometimes they're bad, so it depends. They're objective. They're just purely objective. Whether they're good or bad depends on the circumstances. So sometimes the change is good, sometimes it's bad. Same goes for balance. And usually then, the other important thing to note is that people don't stay satisfied always or stay dissatisfied always. It depends. And usually what happens is when you're learning, your brain state changes. And when your brain state changes, there's a chance that you will go from satisfied to dissatisfied, or from dissatisfied to satisfied. And so you could like switch between the two. And so what this means is that you'll switch between change and balance. So you'll either go from change to balance or balance to change. And so that's when you get this movement, this transitioning between balance and change. So I mean, because technically change is the transition between balance, because the balance is like the state of things. At least that's how I see it. But you could also say that balance is the transition between changes, many changes. I guess I will say that, yeah. I mean, yeah. So that is true, actually. Yeah. So I mean, of course, the state of things is like everything. You're including everything in there, whereas with change, you're just including whatever is changing. And so yeah. So, and an important thing to take note of is that when it comes to the people who are most likely to create change, like I said, is those who are dissatisfied, and those people who are most likely to keep balance are those who are satisfied. So when you're looking at a society and you want to create change, or you want to create balance, well, it's all about just the learning. The learning is where that changing of the brain state happens. And when you change the brain state, people can change their minds on whether they're satisfied or dissatisfied. And usually it's either you get more satisfied or more dissatisfied, or less dissatisfied or less satisfied. And eventually you go so low that you reach the tipping point, and then past the tipping point, it's the complete opposite. So now you've switched. So once you cross that tipping point, you've switched. And it's that switching that really matters. And also, just because you haven't reached the tipping point doesn't mean there's a change in what you want. So someone could still be somewhat satisfied, but they still kind of want change. So it's not like it's it's a spectrum. It's a spectrum. It's like the person's purely dissatisfied or purely satisfied, and then somewhere in between, you want different things. So there's like people who are, satisfied, but they still want some change, just less so than people who are very dissatisfied. And it's a spectrum. And there's people who are dissatisfied, but they still want levels of balance. So it's not like, so it's a spectrum. And so yeah, and like I said, the learning is where the changing of the brain state happens, and that's where people can change between wanting change or balance. So that's how all of this relates to change and balance. What else? Oh yeah, so I'd say that as for is one like harder than the other, like is change harder than balance or balance harder than change? I mean, for instance, balance is you're juggling with a lot, whereas change can be more focused. So there's definitely that part to it. So I'd say that usually change is easier. But balance can be easy too as long as it's still focused. I mean, because it's the balance is the state of things. So if you want like yeah, it depends on how it yeah, on like how wide the balance is. But yeah, I think usually because the difference is change, sometimes you can go from one little change and you could break it up into a bunch of smaller things. Now, of course, the change doesn't, it's one thing to change something, it's another to then balance to maintain what you've changed, right? So you can like just, if you're just saying, oh, like, is one easier than just like pure change? Yeah, you can change and change and change. I would say that's easier than balance. But if you're saying change, and maintain at the same, after you change this stuff, you change and maintain, you change and you maintain that, you just keep maintaining whatever you change, then you're basically doing the 2 in 1. So I'd say maybe that one's harder. Basically the mix of the two. If you do the 2 at the same time, it's harder. But yeah, otherwise balance is the harder one. Just pure change, just without maintaining, is always going to be the easiest one because it's just a moment in time, right? The balance is constant. So yeah, and what else? So yeah, there's that, and then there's also like the what else? I mean, there's the aspects of, oh yeah, so like that's why a lot of the time you see the people who create change are like, right, they're like dissatisfied, they're a little like cranky or they're sad or like, but they kind of work to, I mean, or maybe angry or, but so they create change. And the people who are usually satisfied are those who, I don't know. I mean, usually they're happier. So yeah, the people, I'm sorry. So the people who bring about change, right, are like sadder, angry, cranky. And the people who maintain balance are usually like happier and usually, I mean, I don't know. Maybe like, happier. What else? Oh, more at peace, like more calm, less maybe less anxious. Well, if you're like, how do you call it? Like, I mean, it depends, but like, because I guess you're like at peace, you're satisfied, you're appreciated, and then there's pure, there's the pure appreciation, so it's basically zero dissatisfaction, because it's a spectrum. So it's like you go from zero dissatisfaction to 100% dissatisfaction, and when you get to a point where you're almost at 100% dissatisfaction, then it's like you live in like a personal hell because you basically can't appreciate anything. You like repel everything. And I mean, technically, if you literally repel everything, you just die. So, we can't survive completely self-sufficiently. So you need some externals to survive. So there's definitely that aspect to it. So yeah. Anyway, what else? And then there's also... But yeah, I would say essentially when it comes, oh yeah, and so you want to balance the two too, because you don't want just pure change or just pure balance, right? Usually you want a mix of the two. You want to balance and change, and so to do that requires a mix, yeah, just like a balancing of the two states of satisfaction and dissatisfaction. If you're purely satisfied and you always are satisfied, then you're just gonna maintain balance the whole time. And if you're purely dissatisfied, then you're just gonna constantly want change. And actually, that's why like people have pain. Like the pain is to say, hey, like you don't like the state, like you don't like it, hence change it. So because we need change. Change is the energy flowing through us, right? The energy is movement. Change is movement, and energy needs to constantly be flowing through us, through our body, for us to stay alive. Hence, we need to be dissatisfied to say, I'm hungry, I'm like starving, I'm dehydrated, I'm cold, I'm suffocating. It's like, and then you take whatever action to survive. If in those cases, in those instances of pain, you're injured, bodily injury, mental injury, like mental pain, all of it. So that like pain is to drive you to change, to bring change, and we need change to survive because we need energy to flow through us. So yeah, and alright, and so yeah, so that's that, and then so yeah, and as for the balance you need to appreciate things, which is why we appreciate things. We appreciate. You also need the appreciation to. You need the appreciation to like differentiate between the dissatisfaction, because you have the dissatisfaction and you have the appreciation, and the appreciation is how you differentiate between the two. That's how you say, okay, this is good, now let me maintain it. So when you have a pain, when you have an injury, you're like, oh, this is hurting, this is painful, I'm dissatisfied. And then you have an idea of what is better. So no pain, well-fed, well-hydrated, balanced in terms of your body heat and good amount of oxygen. And so these perceptions of these perceptions of what is good, what is enjoyable and like satisfying, and like you're appreciative for, is what's going to help your brain say, okay, so this is what I'm going to maintain. And so you're gonna change the pain. So you're gonna change it so the pain goes away. But then you're like, I like this, and then you're gonna maintain it. You're not gonna just keep swapping between the two, or just like jump to another thing and another thing and another thing. Because now you're like, ooh, satisfaction, I'm going to maintain this. So yeah. So that's how like the balance works between the two. Just an example of just from something we can all relate to as like human beings. Just this way it's more relatable. So yeah, guys, hope you liked the video. I make a lot more videos like this. If you want to check them out, you can do so, and I'll see you in the next one. See you guys.